one thing that you mentioned that you wanted to talk about was just like bodybuilding at IFBB. So I actually haven't seen you since you got that IFBB pro card. Like
Right.
I don't think I saw you at all. Like even when you got it.
Even when we got it,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
think
I guess
so.
so.
I don't think I saw you. So, dude, tell me about that experience.
So that was back in 2019. I was actually working as a personal training manager at the time. And pretty much what happened was I was kind of forced into an ultimatum by my old employer. And they pretty much didn't allow me to travel to get my pro card. And
What?
yeah, so I was like, hey, I need to take, 2 weeks vacation for me to travel down to Pittsburgh and compete. And they're like, no, this month we're doing really poor. We need you here so that we can, live up to the performance that we need from you. And we need you to stay here to fulfill your responsibilities. And then at that point, I was like, well, either I leave and pursue my dream, or I stay here and continue working for someone and continue being treated poorly in a place that I thought was family, right? So I decided to take the option to leave that job and pursue that pro card. So I competed down in Pittsburgh. It was a competition called North Americans, which is the biggest competition in all of North America to get your pro card. So I do give like 2 pro cards for each category. But in my category, there was about like 250 guys competing
Holy crap! At the competition.
at the competition.
Holy
Yeah.
shit!
So 250 classic physique guys competing for the top 2 places.
So your chances are literally less than 1%.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah.
Like you have to be the genetic elite for you to get that pro card, right? So I competed in that competition twice actually. So the first year that I ran for my pro card was in 2018. I did Toronto Pro Qualifier, which I won my class. I got into the overalls, but I lost in the overalls in that show. I did Van Pro Qualifier 2018 as well, which I lost. And then I did North Americans 2018, which I placed 5th. And that was really a very humbling experience because, I was winning my class, getting to the overalls every single show, and then placing 5th for me was like a very big loss, right? So, we do what we always do, go back to the drawing board and figure out a good off-season plan to work on my weak points, figure out what went wrong during that prep, why I didn't win my pro card. And we figured out that I depleted too hard. I went a little bit too extreme on the carbs, too much on the cardio, trying to make weight because I had to weigh down to 170 and
Yeah,
literally.
I think I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to.
You had to like go for a jog right before you went on stage or something.
It was
right?
crazy, man. Like I was like 170. So what's weird is they only allow a person 5'5" to weigh up to 170. I thought I was 5'6" this whole time, which allows you to weigh up to 175. So I was 172 point something at that time when in the morning that I weighed in, and then I go to measure. I'm 5'5¾". So I'm literally a quarter inch from being, the weight class above. So they tell me I'm 5'5³", which means I can only weigh up to 170. They're like, you have 30 minutes to lose the weight in order for you to. So they're
And it
like,
was how much weight to lose?
2.5 pounds. So luckily it was at a hotel, so they had like a steam room. I booked my ass to the steam room, did a bunch of jumping jacks, did a bunch of push-ups, just trying to sweat it off. 30 minutes later, came back, weighed in 169.9. So that's not what you want to do on peak week though, right?
No.
You don't want to be going to the extreme and dieting down that hard and doing all this extra shit that's going to further deplete you. So I got too depleted and I wasn't able to carb up heavy enough, so I looked flat on stage. And that happened for like pretty much every single show in 2018. And then finally, the year after, I figured out my body and how responsive it is to carbs. So I carbed up a little bit heavier and yeah, finally was able to fill out my frame and fill out the depleted muscles to look complete and full. And then in 2019, competed in Pittsburgh. I won my class. I got into the overalls and then won the overalls in that category.
So during this whole time, you were working with the same coach, Lou?
Yeah, Mark and Lou.
So
Rookie.
how come like when you said that you figured out your carbs or whatever, like what exactly did you not know from years of bodybuilding and also like from the same coach the whole time?
That's the thing, right? So I've worked with him before as a natural athlete, right? And with enhancements, it's a little bit different with nutrition because your body can uptake the intake a lot higher. And I guess with us, we wanted to prioritize conditioning. And on top of that, we still had to make weight. So when we had to push to make weight, and then on top of that, we didn't want to carb up so much to the point where we spill over. So we kind of played it conservative, but each time we played it conservative, it kind of bit us back in the butt because we weren't able to showcase my strong muscle groups, which looked flat, like my shoulders and my chest and my legs. So my strong points weren't as polished and weren't filled out. And then the following year after that, I was like, I think we can handle this with that more food, because every single time after the show, the day after the show, after you start eating all these cheat meals, I looked better, right? I looked better the day after the show than I did on the day of the show. So I was like, I think there's something to this. So we just decided to push it a little bit harder on the carb up during peak week, and then finally, like, that recipe worked for us.
So on your off season, how many, like, do you still track your calories?
This off season I have been. Every other off season, no.
So how many calories are you eating right now?
So I'm actually in a cutting phase right now. So I'm like probably around 2,200.
Okay, wait. So what about so that means you're competing soon?
I'm gonna leave that unanswered for now. No comment. I'm gonna say I'm just gonna be in striking distance.
Okay.
I'm not committing to any show yet. Let's put it that way. But I know that I will be competing this year for sure. I just don't know which one. I'll be cutting down and be within striking distance. So if all things are aligned and I'm in a good position to pull the trigger for it, then I'll do it.
So let me rephrase the question then. So how many calories do you eat when you're bulking?
Good question. So, man, at the peak, I got up to like 240 pounds.
No,
right? And I was eating maybe like
5'5", 240. Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah. So I was eating like maybe 6,000 calories.
6,000 calories.
1,000 calories.
Oh man, I want to know like what the macros were.
Yeah, it's probably like, I think 750, 800 carbs.
What?
Yeah, it was a lot of food. And then the protein was even high too, which is around like 300 grams of protein.
Damn.
And my fats were like about 120 or something like that.
120 fats.
Yeah.
Wow,
I got thick. The thing
so I thought you'd be keeping the fats low. I thought like you were gonna say probably something like 70 or 60 fat.
No, I mean I probably should have, but then.
So it is ideal to keep your fats lower.
I would say so. Yeah, I got a little bit too fluffy.
My whole life when I was tracking calories, which has been ever since like before working with you even, it was always about like trying to keep the calories low in general. Like I was always trying to keep it like 2,200. And it wasn't until I worked with like this other coach that like he really got me to eat a lot more.
Yeah.
And also he didn't allow the fats to be so high, kept the carbs extremely high.
Right.
And the more carbs I ate, the bigger I would get, like the more muscle I would build. And that's what just blew my mind and makes you like, it motivated me so hard, like seeing the results, like with the high carb diet, low fat diet, that it just like, I see what it does to me, and therefore that's why I believe it so much. And prior to that, I was doing a lot of higher fat meals because of the whole like carnivore diet and things like that, and like focus more on fats because fats have a lot of vitamins and stuff. And yeah, it just wasn't providing the same results. Even though I was eating less, I was gaining more fat. So at the end of the day, like, yeah, it is calories in, calories out. But why do you think that the carbs allow for so much more like muscle building as opposed to fat? Because isn't it just calories in, calories out?
Yeah, overall, I think if you're in a surplus, you can build muscle regardless. However, with the assistance of carbs, I think the strength output that you gain with carbs is a lot, the ceiling's a lot higher, and you gain strength faster. And by implementing more volume through that strength, you're going to be able to build muscle faster, right? So I think overall, not just that, but when you don't have carbs in your diet, then the amount of blood flow to the muscle, the amount of glycogen stored, which leads to contractions, better blood flow, and just overall pump is not as good. So you can't put as much metabolic stress on the muscle. And because you're not able to push as much weight, because you're not as strong without the carbs, can't build as muscle as fast.
So to give you an idea, like I was eating about 2,200 calories at the most, maybe 2,300 at the most, having like closer to like 120, 130 grams of fat.
Yeah.
And I would actually, I was 195 pounds. Right now, I'm eating like 2,900, 3,000 calories, having closer to like 400, 450 carb, but I'm 165 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it cut all the way down and then improved my metabolism.
Yeah, yeah,
And all I did was just switch the carbs and fats and then just started keep
yeah.
like ramping up the carbs more and more and more and more and more. It's just so mind blowing to me like how that's possible because my whole life like I just thought it was a calories in calories out thing when clearly it's not. And it's not like a lot of people say like, oh, if you cut the carbs like keto, right, then you'll lose fat. But I mean, if I could just increase the carbs, I could lose fat.
You
Like,
could. You got to think of your body as kind of like a burning furnace, right? And the metabolism is like the fire inside that furnace. So the more wood you throw in that furnace, the greater that fire grows. And when you're growing that fire, that metabolism, it just puts you in a state where you can burn fat a lot easier. So that's why with my clients, like I'll always take them through like an extended period of reverse dieting. I call it the metabolic expansion phase, where you're just trying to focus on improving that metabolism. And we do that long enough to the point where we can get them to burn fat on demand and eating way more carbs than before. And that's how you can get shredded without having to suffer as much and cutting your carbs as low.
yeah, this is exactly what we do with our clients too. Yeah, we like really push them to eat more and more and more. They're reluctant to, but then they finally decide to follow, and then they're like, wait a second, this actually works. And everybody's always so mind blown.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are scared of carbs in the beginning. But I think once over time, once you understand that carbs is the fuel you need to improve your performance, your training, that leads to building more muscle, which then leads to your ability to uptake those carbs easier, better as glycogen. It all just kind of works as a system, right? And a cyclical process. So, and then you just get better and better at being able to eat more food without gaining fat.
I know you're like a big if it fits your macros guy.
Yeah.
But do you believe that there's any sort of food quality that affects your metabolism and it also affects your physique?
Yeah, I think certain foods will have like certain effect on your hormones. I know healthy fats, for example, right? I think there has to be a balance. Of course, eating all processed and sugary based food, that's not going to be good for, insulin sensitivity, things like that. So if you're having a good balance, where you're eating enough fiber, eating enough vegetables, healthy fats, then that's going to take care of the health side of things, which includes hormone physiology. But then, of course, if you want to live a sustainable lifestyle, you got to be able to enjoy some treats too. So there has to be a balance. If you tip too far on one side, on the unhealthy side per se, then that's when your health gets out of whack. You're more lethargic. You're not producing as much energy output throughout the day. So little things like that, I think, can affect your overall physique. So yes, if it fits your macros, it's something I do follow, but I always preach at least 80-20, if not 100. Right? I right now, me cutting, I don't have any treats. Right, and on top of that, I think for people who just, I guess, think about food too much, will tend to have like some kind of eating disorder at the end of it. Right. So now I view food as just fuel, and it's I'm using it as a purpose to transform my physique, not using it for enjoyment anymore. And when I want to enjoy, then I'll enjoy, but I don't try to look for it in little snacks or things like that anymore, which I used to. But I always found that the further I depleted and the more I started to just wrap my head around food, think about food all the time, the more the worse relationship I had with food at the end of the cutting phase, which led to binges and stuff like that. So now I have a much healthier relationship with food. I see it as fuel and see it as like a reason for me to improve my performance, change my physique. And then when I want to enjoy myself, I'll enjoy it. But then I won't, think about it too much.
When you were coaching me,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but I was like the if it fits your macros guy. Do you
Yeah.
remember that?
I do.
So basically just eating like complete crap and just like sugar and processed foods, like anything that was like processed, I was like, oh, I can eat this, so I will eat it. And that completely destroyed my mindset around health, but also, like you said, like eating disorders. And although at the time I didn't realize it, yeah, I had like a binge eating disorder right after the show. I had like an insane food focus, and that lasted like months and months, like if not a year after the show. And my physique just kind of like totally fell apart, and there was nothing I could do to come back to it because at the end of the day, it was like a mental health issue that I was dealing with. I couldn't, you can't just hop back on a diet.
No, yeah, it's tough to find that balance with food. Like once you go through the extreme dieting, and then just you're always constantly thinking about the food. It's always in the back of your head, which is why I switch my perspective with food now, where I see it as a means to get closer to my goal. Whereas, and then like I said, like you can have moments where you can just indulge and enjoy it, but if you're always thinking about food that way, then you're gonna let food control your life. And when you do that, that's what leads to eating disorders, and you're not going to be able to get away from that. It's going to be hard for you to have this balance with your life. And then I think that's why most people fail at creating a sustainable lifestyle, is because they just wrap their head around food too much.
So one thing that you mentioned earlier was how processed foods can or might impact your insulin sensitivity. And so how does insulin sensitivity and insulin affect your physique?
I mean, if you're eating too much sugar, right, for example, then your blood glucose is just going to be too high, right? And if your blood glucose is too high, then it's going to shuttle all this insulin into your body so that you can start utilizing it, either store as glycogen or store as fat. So when you're pumping all the insulin throughout your body too frequently, it's going to cause an imbalance with your insulin sensitivity. And then eventually it's going to get to a point where the insulin is not going to be produced through your body as efficiently, and there's going to be higher blood glucose, and eventually when you're eating carbs, it's just all that glucose just sits in the blood, and then so you're going to be more prone to storing that fat. So when you're always eating high sugar foods, processed foods, that blood sugar is always going to be elevated, always secreting insulin, and eventually that insulin pump is just not going to work anymore, right? And then eventually after that, your body's going to just have all this blood sugar and not know how to process that sugar into glycogen, and eventually just mostly store it as fat.
This whole time we were talking about keeping high carbs is good, and then now it's like, oh, but if you have too much sugar, then your insulin gets
That's
too
the
high.
thing. So carbs and sugar are two separate things. Yes, they get broken down to glucose, but when you're spiking, let's say if you're eating like complex carbs, right, with fiber, that digests a lot slower. So there's not going to be this huge spike in blood sugar, which is not going to promote that rush of insulin secreting through your body. So when you're eating more complex carbs, whole grains, things like that with fiber and veggies and so forth, that's going to slow down the digestive process a lot more. So that's how you can utilize those carbs a lot more sporadically throughout the day, instead of it all rushing through your blood at once. And that's the issue. When you eat all that sugar at once, that's what causes the insulin sensitivity to kind of be thrown off, right? So that's why you gotta have that balance. You gotta have that balance of a little bit of sugar is fine, but if you're eating, like, let's say you're eating 400 grams of carbs a day, you're eating 300 grams of sugar, your body's not gonna be able to synthesize all of that immediately, right? Unless you have a freak metabolism. So that's why you need to fill majority of your carbs with complex whole food carbs, and then a little bit of sugar is fine.
So would you put sugar and fruit in the same category?
I would, because eating too much fruit is not necessarily good for you either, right? I would say you got to have a good balance of fruits. It's healthy, has micronutrients. The fruit with fiber is really good, right? But I would say if you eat too much fruit in general, that can still cause that
It's like the same issue.
Yeah, you can still cause the blood sugar to spike, right?
Yeah, so with my current diet, what I find is, because I'm eating a lot of fruit, and I'm just trying to see like exactly how many grams of sugar. Like, what would you say? Like, how many grams of sugar is the point where it's just like, okay, this is the tipping point? Like,
I wouldn't
you've gone
say
a
it's
little bit too far.
necessarily a number of grams. It's a more of a percentage of total calories. So depending on how many calories you're eating a day, I usually recommend anywhere from like max 10 to 15% of your total calories. So for example, if you are eating 2,000 calories a day, 10% of that could be from sugar. So 200 carbs, or sorry, 200 calories worth of sugar. That's
So like 50 grams.
of sugar, yeah.
So yeah, okay. So I'm just kind of flipping through. So yeah, I eat somewhere between like 50 to 80. So it'd be right in that zone.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
what, you're eating 2,900 calories?
Yeah, 29 to 30,000.
Yeah. So I mean, that's normal. That's where it should be, I think.
Yeah, but the thing is though, the amount of fruit that I eat is like probably like 1 banana, 2 kiwis, some strawberries, and then maybe some mango, and that's what it equals out to be.
That's good.
But like one piece of Dairy Queen cake is like already like twice that.
Yeah, exactly. So you gotta pick your options that will be healthier, of course, and minimize that sugar intake, right?
Have you cut since you won your IFBB Pro Card?
So what happened was, I'll tell a little short story about my my mental rut that happened when the pandemic first hit. So I got my pro card in 2019 August. I was reverse dieting on a roll, really capitalizing on the rebound in the off season. I was doing that all the way up to March, and then in March, Vancouver got locked down. So when we got locked down, I stopped working because I was working as a personal trainer inside the gym at that time. And then tried doing the home workout stuff where training in my basement, just two dumbbells, resistance bands, doing what I could. But I lost motivation with that really quickly. So I went from training like 6 times a week down to 1 to 2 times a week. And then because I stopped training, I also stopped caring about my diet. So I stopped tracking, started to just order more takeout, just eat like shitty food. And in the span of 2 months, I gained like nearly 40 pounds. And not a lot of people,
Holy, 40 pounds in 2 months.
yeah, not a lot of people know about that. But I actually made a transparency post on my Instagram about that, about how like I just went into this like spiral, just bad habits. Gained 40 pounds in 2 months, and yeah, like I just felt like I was rotting away at home, right? And then after 2 months, they lifted the lockdown. And yeah, I got my ass back into the gym and just kind of been working my ass back into the shape where I was before. I tried to do mini cuts here and there, but it was kind of hard because when you go through like a couple months of just bad habits, it's like reversing those habits are hard. And like that's coming from someone who's been doing this for 11 years. So if it's hard for me, I know that there's probably millions of people who dealt with the same backlash from COVID, right? Um, so yeah, I've been kind of picking myself back up ever since, and this is the first year that I've actually committed to my cut for anything longer than a month. So I've been cutting for like around 12 weeks now, so 3 months, down like 23 pounds. So just gonna keep on going, keep recompositioning my body, and then, like I said, be within striking distance of a show, and then we'll see what happens.
That's crazy. 2 months and just like 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were, and then after that, like, did it keep going? Like, or did you just go back to the gym 6 days a week and then just like
Yeah,
right away?
so
You were able to like bounce back right away.
I was able to bounce back right away. In the beginning though, it was hard to make it to the gym because I was like training 1 to 2 times a week, right? And that whole entire lifestyle was completely different from who I knew I was. Because if you probably knew how I used to train back then, like I used to train 7 days a week, like 3 to 4 hours a day, and that was because I was so passionate. I loved it. I was obsessed with training. And then all of a sudden, like COVID hit, and I just felt, I guess, helpless. Um, I became a victim in my own life, right? And eventually, I just kind of let that control me. And comparing that person to who I was before, like you wouldn't even recognize the same people. And that's why I never want to look back at that guy again, and continue just living this lifestyle, right? And for me, it means following a diet that I see as not just sustainable, but like as just more so goal oriented,
Mm.
right? Because in the past, I would just focus my off season diet on enjoyment, which is, yeah, it's fine, but I think it was too much around enjoyment. And when you do that, you're always just constantly thinking about food, and eventually you get to a point where you just become disgusted with food, right? Because you're always eating, and then when you're disgusted with food, you're not really focusing on hitting targets and goals anymore. You're just trying to just get some kind of food in, get some calories in. So if you eat clean food, for example, it's just gonna be so disgusting because you're so used to eating good food, but even the good food now tastes disgusting. So like you're just trying to get something in just to get the calories in. It's just that's where I was at the end of the 2 month lockdown.
You know what I find is whenever I have this is so weird, and I don't think I've ever talked about this with anybody because I just like I tried Googling, it just doesn't ever come up. But if I were to have, let's say, I don't know, go to a restaurant and have a burger, the whole week I'll be craving going not just to for a burger, but for just restaurant food in general. Do you get that as well?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, why do you think that is?
Um, I think it just your hunger hormones like leptin and ghrelin, like those hormones will dictate your hunger levels after a cheat. Like after your cheat meal, you typically want more, right?
Mm.
So that's why for me after a cheat meal, I'll usually crave dessert or something like that. And then the following day, it's just like you're trying to get back into your clean meals, but it's hard. Like you just had something so delicious, like, and especially when you're in the off season, you just kind of want more of that bad food. So you just start to kind of relax a little bit more, and then eventually you just kind of cave in, right? So I think it has to do with your hunger hormones. I don't know the exact science behind it, but I'm pretty sure that because like when you have a cheat meal, a high fat meal like that, that it can affect your hunger hormones.
Yeah, it's so weird, man. So weird because I can really relate to my clients who are struggling with that because they'll cheat on their diet and then they'll like screw up the entire week. And I don't think that it's just like a lack of willpower. I think that there's something that's happening,
Happening.
physiologically happening that's
Yeah,
causing them to want to do that.
it could be. It could be. I mean, at the end of the day, though, everyone has that willpower and mindset to stop
Yeah,
it.
that's so true. Yeah, like at the end of the yeah. So the reason why I don't fuck up my entire week is because I cut it off.
Yeah,
Like, okay, I just ignore those feelings.
yeah.
But then I guess other people, yeah, just don't have that.
They don't have the discipline. Yeah, they're not competitors. They like lifestyle people. They don't have that kind of mindset that you can flip to just get in the zone with your nutrition, right? Because they're just so used to having that relaxed lifestyle with their food. But that's why I like competing. And I like right now what I'm doing with my current diet and my cardio, my programming, it's like as if I'm in prep. And when I'm in prep, like I'm so much more focused with my routine. Everything is way more regimented. My life's more structured, and everything just falls into place more easily, right? And yeah, I just feel like when I'm in prep, I'm more productive. So that's why I kind of want to start establishing this, not necessarily like deep end of prep, but just establishing that prep kind of lifestyle as a lifestyle, right? I feel like not only my business, but my uh detail to attention or attention to detail is a lot better. I'm more focused, more mental clarity. And I think it's partly because my food is so much healthier too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because like I've been like in the off season in the past, I'll just eat like shit, order takeout 3 times a day. Like obviously when you eat like that, like you're probably gonna feel like shit, mental fog, and like lazy, unproductive. And comparing it to now, where I'm actually doing a lot of cardio, which is really good for mental clarity, but eating veggies, drinking so much water, like that is a lifestyle that I feel like is just gonna help me in so many other areas of my life, right? So that's why I kind of want to live it as a lifestyle for the rest of my life.
So with your clients, do you allow them to have cheat meals? Like, I mean, as in like go eat whatever you want kind of thing?
So it's not programmed. They got to pay their dues, right? They got to obviously put in some work before they get rewarded a cheat meal. If there's a special occasion, they can let me know, and then we can try to work our way, plan that in without it doing damage. But then, if you're only 1 week into the program, you're asking me for a cheat meal, then you got to reconsider your priorities and like reconsider if it was even the right decision to start in the first place.
Would you allow your client, let's say like a newer client, have a slice of pizza as long as they weigh it? Like, let's say like Pizza Hut sliced pizza. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so it's completely flexible dieting.
It is flexible dining. So that's how I coach my clients. Bodybuilding clients, on the other hand, or competition clients, I will have some of them on meal plans, and just because they prefer it, and two, it's more structured for them, and they on top of that, like for meal plans, like I'll have them eating like 5-6 meals, right? Which is really good for muscle protein synthesis. A lot of people kind of knock on meal frequency. I think it's something that a lot of people don't talk about is how it can improve muscle protein synthesis. Because, yes, you can lose fat eating 3 meals versus 6 meals as long as the calories are equated. But person eating 6 meals with more frequent protein feedings 6 times a day, it's going to have a better muscle growth and muscle recovery outcome than the person only eating 3 protein feedings a day. Even though the protein, total grams of protein are equal. The person with 6 meals will actually have better results muscle gain wise than the person with 3 meals.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I totally noticed that with myself too. Like, I've always been on that side. Like, meal frequency doesn't matter. You can have 1 meal, you can have 12 meals. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I noticed that as soon as I started having higher amount of meals, my metabolism improved and also started building more muscle. And I don't know if that's somehow related to just the metabolism improving and like me able to put more output inside the gym. But yeah, like it's so weird seeing the fitness industry evolve after people like start experimenting with things that they're being told.
Yeah.
Especially in this whole like flexible okay, so even with me, I don't tell my clients like, hey, like you have to have 6 meals. I tell them like find balance, right? Like it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but performance wise, it does actually matter.
It does.
Yeah, it does make it's not like it makes a little difference. I personally think it makes a big difference.
Yep. I've been eating 6 meals a day for the last like 12 weeks. And before that, I was in the off season with, my previous coach, eating 7 meals a day when I was like at 240. And like my performance, like I was getting so strong, right? And eating that amount of food. And on top of that, I noticed my muscle gains improving right? And like you said, like I don't think it necessarily has a direct effect on your metabolism, but the fact that you're building more muscle faster means that you're able to uptake the food better, right? Your your muscles will digest the carbs into glycogen a lot more efficiently because there's more muscle mass to uptake glycogen. So I don't necessarily think it's a metabolism thing, but the fact that you're building muscle faster can help you absorb the food better.
I know that you said that, like, because you do somehow care about food quality and like you don't actually like cheat on your meals. But even with your clients, though, do you notice that food quality does kind of matter? Because okay, so for me and my clients, like, I found that the clients who went too hard on the flexible dieting side, um, did not perform as well as the clients who just like ate clean. And it wasn't like that. It was the client, like both. It wasn't that the clients who are eating clean were like, I need to eat clean, like clean foods only. It's just that they were more attracted to those foods, so they just ate like that in general. Like maybe they ate like that before they joined our program. They always did a lot better than the clients who were like on full blown flexible eating. Like I'll have a slice of pizza every day and like ice cream every day. Like I don't care. So that's why in our program we try to like push our clients into like whole foods as much as possible, to the point where we do actually give them food lists and we say like, hey, stick to these foods at least for like the first 6 weeks, and then
Right.
start adding in like those other foods. A, you'll feel better, and B, like tons of things, like you'll improve your metabolism, and it's gonna be easier to stick with the program. Because for those people and for me too, like I'll have one slice pizza and then I'm like, yeah, I don't have my calories for this, but I'll have another slice.
That's the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can lead to just further eating, right?
So why don't you just like push your clients more into like whole foods?
Well, I do. I give them like a grocery shopping list too, and it's 90% whole food. I let them know that there is a little bit of room at the end of the night, right? So I call them filler foods, right?
Mm.
So we're hitting these macros. They should have their staple, meals, which is like breakfast, lunch, dinner, or whatever, 4 meals, where it's like whole clean foods. You're choosing a complex carb, lean protein, and veggie. And you're having majority of your meals like that. And at the end of the night, when they have a little bit of leftover macros left, then we can fill it in with a little bit of treats, whether that is a little bit of candy, maybe like a yogurt bar, something along those lines, chips maybe, to kind of fill in those macros that it won't offset the whole day. But if you're eating, let's say, like that throughout the whole day, that's when it can have an issue because your body is not gonna like your body's not gonna digest that food as well because one, you're probably not eating enough fiber, right? And you're not eating the kind of foods that will help you digest the food better because all of those processed foods, uh, your body is just not it doesn't digest it too well, right? So yeah, that's another thing that you have to consider is digestion. What foods digest well in your body, right? And if you're eating shit that doesn't really digest well in your body, then you're just gonna shit it out, and you're not gonna see the composition changes that you want.
I really like that idea of the filler foods. That's what I just like took on my phone to made a note about filler foods,
Yeah.
because that did actually really help me complete my diary at the end of the day, my FitnessPal diary. Like with all my extra macronutrients left over, because it's like it's so easy to make a small dessert that you can just like completely customize. Like you can add a little bit of protein powder with it. You can add a little bit of like it's so easy to do. But you know what I found with myself when I was coaching with you, and I remember you were teaching that filler food thing. I found that those filler foods, like as my prep went on,
Right.
got bigger and bigger and bigger
Ah.
until it was like a huge portion. And I would eat this tiny little dinner and this huge fucking like ice cream bowl like thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the problem with me was, man, it was so hard to just stick with whole foods. And then when Susie was coaching with you, it was so weird. Like she wasn't really attracted to like sugary foods. And then she just ate whole foods the entire time. Like to her, she was like, yeah, I'd rather just eat like rice and chicken. And I was just so mind blown. Like, you don't want to have like the chocolate bar? And she's like, no, like I could eat more rice and chicken.
Wow. Yeah.
Right?
And that's why she got the results she got.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly, she wins overall.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it's just so weird. Like the how like some people get affected so much by it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a psychological battle at the end of the day. My thought process on how you should approach your diet when you're contest prep now has completely changed. When I first learned about flexible dieting to like now, where I've gone through so many experiences with my relationship with food, that I just, like I said, from this whole time, like that, I only see it as fuel now. Like I don't want to look at food as a means for enjoyment unless it's like specifically for enjoyment,
Hmm.
right? Like a special occasion, whatever that I'll plan to enjoy, I'll enjoy. But other than that, my day to day, I'm using it as fuel. I'm using it to feel better. I'm using it to train better. I'm using it to change my composition. And it's okay if you want to incorporate treats here and there, but for me personally now, I know that that leads to just further cravings, further temptations. And as you said, if I'm trying to fill up my macros, with filler, and then the filler starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, that's a problem too, right? And that's when you start offset that balance, and that's when shit goes downhill.
100%. So what would you tell, like, how do you, how would you coach a client to understanding that whole foods mentality more and like
Yeah,
trying to get them to like get away from processed foods in general? Because we have a ton of clients, because we're also like flexible dieting, macro based. We have a ton of clients like open their MyFitnessPal. I'm like, damn, you had pizza 3 times in a row. It's like 3 days in a row. Like, why?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard for them to stop that pattern.
Right. So now, I mean, the way I coach it is think about the performance, right? Think about the performance in the gym. If you want faster results, because at the end that's why you signed up, right? If you want faster results, you're gonna want to be able to train at max capacity, being able to train at a high level inside the gym. And the only way you do that is by fueling yourself with good foods, right? So yes, you can enjoy yourself to make this a lifestyle down the road, but right now we gotta put in the work. We gotta pay our dues. And if you want the composition changes that you want as fast as possible, then it's better to be eating more healthy food because your performance in the gym is going to be better. You're going to get stronger faster. And these things will tend to lead to a better body composition sooner. And then over time, once you may have that composition, then you can start being more flexible with it, with a lifestyle approach. And then because you've already maintained that uh, or sustained that composition, it's easier to maintain it after, even when you're incorporating, those quote unquote junk food.
Dude, I love that. That was awesome. Yeah, so but I'm gonna just kind of flip the script a little bit and change the script. I mean, and just talk about like, what do you do to stay motivated? Like, what's your biggest thing that keeps you motivated or
Yeah.
disciplined, or however you want to look at it? Like, what makes like John wake up and just like keep doing what he's doing?
Yeah. So I get that question about motivation a lot. At the end of the day, I see the potential of what I'm capable of, right? I think a lot of people have a deep innate potential of achieving something that they're really good at, your passion per se. So when I first started fitness, I wasn't good at anything, and I was pretty much a degenerate when I first started out. Before I started out fitness, I was just like in university at the time. Uh, I was going to UBCO. All I did was just drink, party, and like just blaze 24/7, play games, right? Failing a couple courses, and like I crashed my parents' car at the end of like first year. Like it was like I was like the rock bottom of my life at that point, and that's when I knew I had to like shift the path that I was going because all the bad habits I was doing, like all the poor decisions I was making, was gonna lead me closer towards my possible death at one point. I knew that was gonna happen because I got into that car accident. That was like the first sign for me, my wake up call. So after that happened, I pretty much like dropped every single bad habit, dropped all the vices, things that I knew were gonna walk me closer towards that death, and I got myself a gym membership. And luckily at the time, my cousin, he was also working out, so he kind of like showed me the way. He kind of got me into it, and I'm a very competitive person. I used to play volleyball in high school and played club, so I have like an athletic background. So me and him were just kind of going at it, like seeing who was stronger. That really pushed me to continue working at it, to a point where I eventually just became obsessed with it. And I knew that this is something that I was actually good at. Finally, something in my life that I found that I can hone in on, use my skills to continue getting better. That's why I love fitness, because it's one thing that everyone in this world can continue getting better at, right? Even if you're not good at math, even if you know you're not meant for you're not good at reading books, or you're not good at learning, fitness is one thing that everyone can get better at, and it's one thing that you can see progress in. And for me, I saw a very accelerated growth of progress, more than the average person. I would say I do have above average genetics, which is how I got my pro card, right? So I saw that potential in me, and I knew how far I could take it. And when I see that there's potential in something, I typically have a go all in mindset with it, and it's either I do it or I don't. right? So I went all in with it, with competing, trying to get my pro card, and that's kind of what happened. And so to answer your question, what keeps me going is I know that there's so much more that I can achieve by continually going, right? It doesn't end. It doesn't end. And for me, like I've always had a growth mindset in certain areas that I knew I can excel at. So when there's an opportunity to continue getting better and better, and there's more achievements, more milestones to achieve, especially for me as a competitor, then I'll continue doing it, right? Because I want to make it to the Olympia stage. Now that I know that it's possible, becoming a pro, that was like the first mountain that I conquered. But now this is another mountain I know that I can conquer as well. I'm not there yet. So if I'm not there yet, I'm going to continue pushing until I do get there.
Yeah, so many people in your position have gone through that phase in their life where they were at their absolute low. And a lot of people who are watching it from the outside don't see that transformation. All they see is like, because that's how I see you. I'm like, oh, John went through a low. Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
and both your like things that you talk about, both like after the pandemic and also while you're in university. And I think that that's a huge reason why you are the way that you are, because you went through that low.
yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are currently in that low that want to work with people like you and people like me. And we're kind of accelerating the process to get to that high. But when it comes to trying to find like where your potential lies, what if people can't see any potential in them? They can just see like, oh, I just need to get myself out of this hole, but like, I don't know what's after that.
When you don't know what kind of potential you have in something, you gotta jump into the pool and just gotta test the waters, right? Because you won't know until you try. And that's applicable to all things in life. Even when you're trying to build a business, like when I first started out building my own online coaching business, I had no idea what I was doing, right? And you make mistakes and you just try a lot of different things. Some things work, some things don't. But that's the thing. The only way you get farther in life and see what kind of potential there is by making mistakes, right? So for me, it's like without those mistakes, I wouldn't have learned what to do to get better at it. And if you're always just following a routine and in a cycle of just doing the same things without making mistakes and staying in that, I guess, comfort zone, then you'll never improve in whatever area in your life that you're trying to improve on. And you just kind of be in that cyclical process, right? So I think the answer to that is just make mistakes. Try it. And if you don't know how to overcome things and if you get stuck, then reach out for help, right? And if you still can't make it, then maybe there is potential there and you're gonna try something else, right? So you won't know until you actually go through it and make the mistakes to see, you have a chance with it to make it to go far with it.
But yeah, that's the thing though. What you were saying earlier, everybody can be good at fitness. It's just a matter of just doing it.
It's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah.
You gotta
Because
put in the
if you're
work.
300 pounds and you got to lose like 200 pounds or 150 pounds or whatever, all you have to do is just put in the work.
Exactly, man. And like that's why fitness, I think for everyone, they should do it because once you have that routine of making progress in one thing, that eventually trickles to other parts of your life, right? Being good at one thing and having a system where you're seeing progress will shift that mindset where you're in a growth mindset now, right? Whereas if you're just kind of, I don't know, working in 9 to 5, going home, watching Netflix all day, and you're living that life day in, day out, there's no progress that's happening anywhere, right? Maybe after 5 years working for a corporate company, you get a raise. What does that do for you, right? So for me, it's like, that's why I like, entrepreneurship is because the sky's the limit. Like there's no limit to what you can do. You can scale your business to as high as, as possible, right? 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures, even a lot of those people out there doing that, right? So that's why when you're in fitness, it's just like it can translate to that as well outside your life with career, business, relationships, even. So yeah, I mean, I think it's all about having that growth mindset and being able to use that growth mindset to develop other parts of your life.
Mm-hmm. So, being somebody who's in entrepreneurship and you run your own business, you're like about to compete again. You have like so much that you're doing all day.
Yeah.
How many hours are you working per day? I'm just curious about that, and then I'll ask my other question.
Right now, I'm paying my dues for sure. Like in a day, so I'll probably work at least 12 to 14 hours a day. Uh, and then, the gym as well. So, I mean, I would consider that work because I'm shooting content,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And stuff like that. So maybe like 15, 16 hours a day, right?
So right now, there's no Netflix.
At the end of the night, I'll wind down a little bit, right? I'll wind down just like maybe 30 minutes, but I want to change that to just kind of more reading. I've been kind of getting into books lately. Like I've never been a book guy, by the way, but this is what I mean by, you know, developing that growth mindset is like you always just want to find ways where you can improve yourself. I used to be just, wind down, relax at the end of the night, watch a movie with Netflix, but now just kind of be shifting that mindset a bit, getting a little deeper with business, and of course my fitness, being like that motor to push that, has really kind of pushed me in the direction of just self improvement and just self development.
With fitness for me, the huge thing was okay. So be prior to like working. Okay, so right now I work out 3 times a day.
Oh, a day.
A day. I know that sounds mind blowing, but that's what Brandon does too.
Okay.
So I'll give you the example of my day. So I'll wake up in the morning, I'll do work with a little bit of the clients, and then I go for a workout. It's usually somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour with weights. And then after that, we go to jujitsu for an hour. And then when I come back from work around 2 o'clock, I'll go for a 1 hour walk with my wife, sometimes an hour and a half, with the baby strapped to me.
Okay.
So it's a weighted vest. So it is a workout. I'm not like huffing and puffing. I'm not sweating or anything. But to most people, that would be considered a workout.
True.
And what I noticed that after I started building that lifestyle, I started being almost deterred away from drinking alcohol or anything that's like bad for me. It deterred me away from it. And it just showed me how important it is for my mental health to keep moving. And it's not necessarily, it's like, I think I have the tendency to be an anxious person. And I think a lot of fitness people, like fitness, like I'm assuming you yourself as well, who almost take out that anxiety and those like mental health issues out in the gym.
Yes.
And yeah, so I like barely drink anymore. I used to have like maybe not that much, like 2 to 3 beers a week, but like don't even have any interest at all in drinking anymore. And I'm pretty sure it's just because I'm like offloading all that mental stress into working out as opposed to like trying to wind down at the end of the week and like have a couple beers or something.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
taking it out like that.
Right. That's just kind of like the weekend warrior kind of mindset where you're just kind of looking forward to the weekend, party it out, wind down, relax, and then, mentally prepare for the week ahead, right? Whereas you should be living a lifestyle where you're kind of enjoying each day and committed to your daily task because it's improving you in the areas that you want. So if you are drinking as a means to escape that, then maybe you got to reconsider what you're doing with your daily life and routine.
But it made me really think about also people who just drink in general. I think that they're just coping. And as much as like they say like, no, I'm feel totally fine and stuff, I think they just aren't that connected with themselves.
Yeah.
And they're like pretty much everybody who drinks is in that mindset. Like
I think so.
Yeah. Like they're trying to cope with their issues.
Yep.
And they don't even realize it.
I know. And people are in denial a lot about it, right? I used to be that person, right? And that's part of the reason why I've fell off the wagon so many times is because I was dealing with anxiety and dealing with I would say even depression, right? Like during those 2 months where I gained all that weight, I was just like was depressed about my body, depressed about my confidence. On top of that, I didn't make any money those 2 months because I wasn't working in person anymore. I couldn't work. My online coaching, I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, and yeah, I mean that depression caught up, and then I was just kind of trying to escape reality, right? So I would start drinking, partying, and then just using those means to just escape that anxiety. And then now, I mean, comparing to now, like me committed to my diet, feeling so healthy, committed to my fitness routine, seeing my body change, that to me is my escape. Not even, I mean, not even escape, maybe I'm using the wrong word, but it's just that I'm so focused on that now that I don't even care to drink. It's like I'm so focused on my goals that, and I see the progress with those goals that I know that me drinking and partying is only gonna take me away from that, right? And then I don't need that anymore because I don't feel like I need to escape that because I know what I'm doing is contributing to my growth.
whenever I hang out with friends and I refuse drinks, which is just recently, people feel like offended almost that I'm like refusing it. And I'm like, why are you offended?
You got all
It's
those.
Yeah, it's so weird though, like that it bothers you that I'm not drinking, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And I think a huge part of it is like the only way that they can have fun and the only way that they can enjoy themselves is if they drink. So they think that the only way that you can enjoy yourself is if you drink. And so they really push you to get to do it, even though like you're so reluctant to.
yeah.
And it's not like they're blind; like they can totally see it. Like they're like, oh, it's not like I refuse to drink, right? I'm saying no, I don't want to drink. But how can you push someone to do it? It blows my mind.
I mean, I have all my friends always pushing me to drink when I'm out too, right? And don't get me wrong, like I'll drink, like I still drink.
Mm.
I don't drink like frequently, like maybe once a month, but that's for like special occasions, right? And in those times, yeah, I'll let the peer pressure get to me because like how often do I really drink, right? So I'll enjoy my time with them, right? But it's me owning up to that decision. It's not me necessarily caving into temptation because I want to escape the reality that I'm living in, right? So when you own your decisions, then it's okay to make those decisions to drink to have fun, knowing that it's not gonna screw up your routine, it's not gonna make you miss your workouts the following week, it's not gonna make you mess up your diet and things like that, right? So I think it just comes down to ownership of your decisions.
For sure. What would you like if you could be known for one thing? What would you want to be known for inside like the fitness community?
Man, this is a tough question because I have two passions with fitness. I have, the coaching passion, which is I want to be known as, someone who's transformed thousands of people's lives, like be uh, a legend coach in a sense, right? Versus being known as like a top level competitor, because
Mm,
like that is my passion too. That's what got me into fitness is competing. So for me, I really, I really want to leave a legacy behind of me being one of the best classic physique competitors in the world. But I also do want to be known as a renowned coach as well, someone who's, popular and across the world. So it's a tough question for me. I don't know yet, because I'm still kind of pursuing both at this moment. And I think once I do get the Olympia stage, then it could change things, right? I feel like once I get there, I'm gonna want more, and if I continue going more, then that could possibly be the thing that I want to be known for.
when you say like, okay, so the one thing that I'd be concerned about is like money,
Yeah,
because do those guys actually make money like the Olympia guys?
if you're not in the top five, most likely not.
Hmm.
Like you'll probably get some sponsorships being top 10, but the sponsorships won't pay you jack, right? I'm making all my money on coaching, right? Like the competing for me is a passion thing. Obviously, getting my name out there too, building my following, that helps. But when you're competing on stage and you win a pro show, you get like a couple grand, 5 grand max. And if you're winning the Olympia for classic physique guys, I think it's like 75K. So that's not much. I mean, for some, I'm sure it's a lot, but I think based on the amount of money that you spend on your food, supplements, all the coaching, all that, that's not that much. You're just investing all that the cash prize that you win back into the prep, back into whatever you need to buy to in order for you to get in that shape, right? So no, they don't make a lot of money. You got to be smart. You got to be smart with your business, what you do with the following that you build from competing, and you got to be really good at social media.
So what about the top three guys? Do they actually make enough money to?
Oh yeah, let's say Seba, man, he's killing it.
Yeah, but that's like through his businesses. But like, what about just from purely
Just
competing?
purely competing,
Yeah, yeah.
like sponsorships too, or
No, like just like from like, do you get money like for compete? I mean, you're
you do,
professional, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. So
like, is it like in the tune of millions or is it like
hell no,
hundreds of thousands?
not classic physique.
No,
No, open bodybuilding, you'll get a 400K check,
damn, for first place,
first place.
that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But if you compare that to an NBA player who's making 81
Yeah,
mil,
that's true.
right? I mean, we as professional athletes are getting scraps.
Hmm.
But then again, bodybuilding isn't as popular
not
and
that
mainstream
huge,
as, the main sports. But even then, I think those open guys are spending like fucking shit ton of money on just steroids.
Really?
Oh man, like probably like 50K on GH a year.
What?
Yeah, because they're getting
Wow.
pharmaceutical grade. They're taking like 8 to 10 IU's a day, right? So that's a lot of money, man.
Wow, that blows my mind that you can spend like
30 to
tens of thousands of dollars on steroids per year.
30 to 50K in just GH. So that keep in mind, there's other shit that they
Yeah,
take.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it could be
It
up
could
to
be
like
hundred thousands of
could be
dollars.
$100,000
Yeah,
just
and
a
then they
year.
go win first place, and that was just like
Just
cover their
hundred.
steroids.
Yeah, just cover the steroids, right? And then of course all that extra food that the open guys eat so much food, right? All the chicken breasts.
Do you think that like some of those guys eat 10K calories?
In the off season probably.
Wow, that's
I know
mind
one guy
blowing.
named Juan Morel. He was eating like 10K a day, and he would have like 20K cheat meals.
Man, I can't imagine like what it's like for his digestion.
Yeah, it's great. Well, some guys can handle it. He actually handled it. He has super freaking metabolism, but
Did you
yeah.
find any issues when you were like eating 6,000 calories per day, like digestion wise?
No, I actually digested my food pretty well.
Mm,
I was eating everything healthy though, right? It wasn't like
right.
any kind of. It wasn't. It was 6,000 calories of clean food. So yes, I digested well, but it was tough because there's so much volume. Like the calorie to get 6,000 calories of healthy, clean food is a shit ton of food. So I had a hard time eating it. I was like force feeding my food at the end of the night. Like literally, I would blend my chicken breast with my rice and just fucking drink it. Like I was at that point at one point.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, whatever.
Like, actually, I've done like so we blend the kids' food. Doesn't taste that bad.
Oh,
Like when
really?
you like mix like potatoes and chicken, it's just like whatever.
Yeah.
I'll eat it.
Oh, you eat it, eh?
Well, I mean,
You
I
s-
always taste it before giving it to them. But yeah, they're fine with it and like tastes fine to me. It just tastes like chicken and potatoes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
after chewing it a bit.
For me though, I always had a gag reflex with it for some
Really?
reason. I just every single sip I took, I just gagged, and I would just like try to choke it down as
Oh,
fast as I
mind
could.
over
It was,
matter, man.
I know, whatever it takes, right?
Yeah.
It was a yeah, that was like during the peak of my off season where I got 240. I was like just force feeding all that food down at the end of the night. It wasn't like a great experience, but yeah, I mean, I put on the gains, so I can't really complain.
Mm. So knowing that there isn't a lot of money inside, what do you like other than just fame and like just fame? What are you gonna get out of focusing on a competition?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, it's just about passion, right?
Mm.
For me, just I like being on stage. I mean, I like I don't not to say I like being the center of attention, but I like the reward of all the hard work that I put in.
Mm.
Right, it comes to fruition when you're on that stage, and then when you can win, it's just like it gives me that affirmation and what I'm doing is right. I'm on the right path. So for me to compete is not really about the money, but yes, it does help me build my following, which can help me with building my business, which is partly why I want to do it as well. But I think mainly for me, competing is not about the money side of things, but more so just how passionate I am about it.
Mm.
Right, and if I didn't have that passion and the potential, because I know that I have the potential to make it to Olympia, if I didn't have the passion and the potential, I would not be doing it. Right, I would not be doing it at all because the amount of suffering that it takes, the amount of sacrifice you have to put in, the amount of time that you have to invest into yourself, and how selfish it is. It's not for everyone, right? And you have to really love it, and you have to have a really good potential with it for you to actually do it. Otherwise, I don't recommend anyone competing because it's unhealthy.
Yeah, I mean, I did bodybuilding competition, just one,
Yeah,
just destroyed me mentally, physically.
yeah,
Took
yeah.
me years to recover, like I said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why for most people I say avoid it
Yeah.
if possible. Like I know I got a lot of guys who just like training for 6 months, reach out to me, hey, I want to do a competition. And I'll be straight and blunt with them. I'll tell them, hey, like this is what you need to expect. And based on where you're at, you're not ready. I'll tell them to their face, like you need at least 2 years, to put in some decent size.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you're just competing prematurely. You're just gonna step on stage for a participation trophy.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, you're making so many sacrifices in your life that it is going to affect possible, relationships, things like that. So if you're ready for that, sure, I can guide you through it, but we got to make sure that you're ready physically as well. So, yeah.
So, John, you are like the most passionate guy I know when it comes to bodybuilding. I don't know that many like massive bodybuilders like you, but if people had to find you somewhere, where should they go?
Yeah. So, you can find me mainly on Instagram. It's Jaws, JAWS underscore IFBB Pro. They call me Jaws because of my chiseled jawline. So you're
Damn
going to
it.
see a lot more of that coming soon, a little bit more chiseled. Yeah, mainly on social media for Instagram. I do have Facebook as well, but I'm not really active on that. So yeah, if you want, just reach out to me on social media.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you, man, and looking forward to like our next chat. And yeah, it was nice
Awesome,
talking,
man.
man.